It's drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Episode 39 of The Burrows. Kevin Bunk, Michael Merlo coming to you every week, multiple times a week, talking New York baseball and everything else around the league for BTO Media. And finally, after so many offseason episodes, the long year of Soto, what felt like lifetimes, at least for a Yankee fan this offseason, of Soto discussions and plan Bs. We saw the teams hit the field yesterday. One team looked fantastic. The other one, yikes. We'll talk about it all. We'll cover everything. But, Mike, I got to say, it is awesome to have baseball back. Tokyo series didn't count. Yesterday counted, and it was beautiful.
Yesterday counts. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's funny. Earlier in the day and a little bit on Wednesday, I had seen this post going around, and it was, what are the most frustrating things in all of sports as a fan that your team does? Okay? And, like false starts are at the top of the list. And I think number 3 or 4 was when your team leaves runners in scoring position. That was number 4 on the list. And that's all the Mets did yesterday was leave guys in scoring position. But you know what? I'm not going to get upset because it's only game 1.
If they lose tonight, say they lose 4-2 tonight, another kind of offense is dry game. Where are you at
Kevin,
tomorrow morning?
They would have to lose the first 6 for me to get nervous. If they can lose the first 5. Yeah, if they top last year, because they only made the playoffs by a game. So if they top last year, I'll be worried. But if 0-5, I'm still good.
All right, we're going to start a little bit of Yankees here. Just they got the win, and they're off today. We'll have a larger discussion with the Mets. They do have a game tonight, Apple TV, Mike's favorite place to watch baseball on Apple TV. Second game of the year, a treat for you. And the Yankees yesterday, I have to say, it's just one of those days of the year, really the only day of the year, where no matter how your team wins, you're pumped about it. And opening day, I just want to leave with a win. I want to see 1-0. That's it. That's all that matters to me. And when Austin Wells leads off the game after a 3-up, 3-down inning from Carlos Rodon, when Wells comes up and leads that game off with a home run, all the conversations about their leadoff hitter, he short porches one, which I know frustrates a lot of fans, but it gets me excited as a Yankee fan to see a line drive out. It's just a nice signature moment at the stadium. I literally smiled until I went to sleep at night after that home run because it just set the tone after an offseason that, honestly, was exhausting as a Yankee fan to not only have to hear about Soto every day, but to try and figure out and conceptualize how they're going to replace him because he is a great player. So it was exhausting the offseason. I was dying to see him hit the field. They do it. Wells starts it with a bang. They get the win. We'll talk through the whole game, but that's all that matters to me on opening day, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of questions in this offseason about how they were going to construct this lineup without Soto and who was going to lead off. And for Wells, he's the first Yankee catcher ever to lead off a game, right? That's true? I can't believe that is a true statement. And that's why I check with you. He leads it off opening day with the home run. So that has to feel good. And you had contributions from guys like Volpe who need to step up and have big years. He hits another little short porch home run there. That would have been out at 9 out of 30 stadiums, I think. So that one was a little bit better than Austin Wells's. But yeah, I mean, it's a great start. Even if it's ugly, even if it gets sketchy at the end with Devin Williams, you win the first game. It feels good. I said it yesterday in that video. The first game feels bigger. It's opening day, and you want to get that win.
And Joe Girardi said it on the broadcast yesterday. He said it feels like a playoff game. It's the only game of the year that on the schedule, when the schedule comes out, it's going to feel like a playoff game. And the guys care so much about winning it. The fans care so much. The stadiums in everywhere, because you even watch the White Sox-Angels game. White Sox-Angels, by far the worst matchup on the slate. You literally cannot do worse than those two teams. And Chicago had a packed house, and they were pumped when they scored runs. They were going nuts. So it's just opening day means more. And I think for you, the saving grace of a loss on opening day is that the Mets weren't at home. you want to win that first home game a lot when you get there. I mean, playing in Houston, the interleague thing, I really don't like it to start the season. It doesn't give me the same energy. Like, I wish the Yankees were able to play Boston or play Toronto, Baltimore. I don't really love playing Milwaukee in the first game.
Yeah.
Or for the Mets case, it is Houston. Last year, Yankees-Houston was fun. That's a fun out-of-division series I can get behind. But, yeah, I mean, great to get a win. I thought the biggest takeaway here, you made a video about it today on Instagram and TikTok, Carlos Rodon looked really good. And he had a strong start last season, never quite put together a string of starts that looked as good as yesterday's, but he gives us one yesterday. I feel good about it. And moving forward, that's the guy they need with Cole out.
Yeah, that's the guy that has to step up. We know. I think as long as Fried is healthy, what you're going to get from Max Fried. It's Carlos Rodon that is the wild card here. It's Clark Schmidt when he comes back. What does he give you when he's back from injury? Rodon, if he can stay at this level, if he can be as close to what he was in 2021 and 2022, then can you make an argument that when Heel comes back and Schmidt comes back, maybe the rotation's better than last season at points, because you lose Cole, but you're replacing Cole with Fried, who's lesser. You get a better Rodon. You get another year of an experienced Heel and another year of an experienced Clark Schmidt. I mean, I'm just trying to look for optimism here. I don't think that's the craziest thing I've ever said in my life.
And you look through the regular season last year for the Yankees, it's not as if Cole was his usual Cy Young self anyways. He missed majority of the beginning of the season. He comes back around the All-Star break, full swing, and he's just not the same pitcher. You remember the Mets start, obviously. You'll remember that one. I tried to block it out as I was sitting there at Citi Field. Disaster start for Gerrit Cole. And then you have the Red Sox start where he intentionally walks Devers, and that turned into a total disaster start. He didn't have a great year last year, so you're right. The Yankees could, if they get Heel and Schmidt back healthy, put together a really nice pitching staff here. And then, of course, we always talk about it because when you have two teams that we discuss that are going to be contenders and are willing to spend and give up assets, they can add at the deadline too. So we'll see what Will Warren gives you. He's probably going to pitch the first game of that next series because you have Fried and Stroman lined up the next 2 days. But I agree with you on Fried. I think he feels like one of those free agents, rare free agents. Obviously, this could be wrong, but don't you just have a feeling like it's going to work out as long as he stays healthy? It just feels like you know what you're going to get, as you said. Whereas some other guys coming to New York, you're a little iffy on whether or not they can perform here. I think Fried's going to be a total knockout ad for the Yankees if he's healthy.
He knows big games. He's pitched in big games, and I don't want to talk about the postseason stats. I'm just saying he understands what it is like to pitch under pressure. He's played in Atlanta for so long, and they've played such big games late in the regular season and the postseason, even early in the regular season at times, to get back into a race. He knows what big games, big crowds feel like because they fill Truist Park every night. So, yeah, I don't worry about that New York pressure with Fried whatsoever.
And he comes from an era of Braves baseball that we saw in the late 90s, we see now, where not only are they winning and having success, but there's expectations there. I don't think that's a fan base that's easy to silence when things are going wrong. You know, they need that fan base could get pretty chaotic. Not the way the Yankees can. I mean, Fried has a 3.4 ERA this year. He's going to get crucified. But
you think he gets crucified with a 3.4 ERA?
With Cole out, yeah, I think he does, because the Yankees need this guy. And look at the length of the contract. They need this guy to be, if you have a 3.4 ERA, you better win 16 plus games. You better hope the offense picks you up. Okay. So I don't think I think Fried's got a little pressure here that he can definitely live up to, but he's got to be close to a 3 ERA, if not in the 2s.
Yeah, interesting. That's interesting. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll have a nice season, probably stay under 3. But that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. When you're replacing one of the best pitchers in the league.
Of course, and you're on the team here in the now final years. I mean, it's tough to project, but the final years of the Judge window, maybe we have 1 year left, maybe we have 3 years left, but you have to start to really be a consistent threat to the World Series now. And with the early injuries, it doesn't feel that way. I mean, Stanton, good news on Stanton yesterday. that he's swinging again. That's huge news for the Yankees. But yeah, I think Fried's got to be a real I think he has to be an ace. He absolutely has to be an ace.
How many years do you actually think they have left of the Judge window, of Judge being a top 3 MVP candidate? How many years?
It's tough for me to say, because I would have thought by the time he's 34 or 35, we're really seeing him fade out. But he's won 2 of the last 3 MVPs. So I'd have to imagine at the plate, he's got another 5 years left at least of really good baseball at the plate. Mm-hmm. And I think he could hold down that right field for a while. I worry mostly about if his body just starts breaking down. If physically he starts breaking down, that's where I could see it being an earlier demise than 5 or 6 years down the road.
And the difficult part with him is, and again, he's one of the greatest right-handed hitters we've ever seen. But the problem is there's really no comp. There's no comp for like his body size, his body type. So when you say it could be 5 or 6 years, it could be, unless that body starts to break down, like you said a little bit earlier. And we really don't have anybody to compare him to. I mean, is Stanton a good comparison? I don't really think they're too similar.
No, I don't think they're too similar either, because Stanton in his prime was the athlete Judge is at 32 years old right now. So Judge is just a way better, he's a way more fluid athlete. And I think he's a much better hitter than Stanton was in his prime, even though Stanton was a sick player, an MVP, almost hit 60 home runs. The numbers are going to be similar on those guys, but Judge is just an all-around better hitter, baseball player in every facet than Stanton.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Other stuff from the game yesterday, I'll say the guys that look good, that really got me excited, obviously Wells. I thought Volpe gave him really good at-bats. Nice, another short porch pop-up that gets out. Gave really good at-bats though the whole game. Bellinger gave him good at-bats the whole game. It was nice to see Weaver and Tim Hill come in and give him some of that formula that worked late in the season last year. But guys that looked bad, that concerned me, and this is not our overreaction portion of the show, where I don't think we're even including Mets and Yankees, but the guys that concerned me yesterday, Paul Goldschmidt did not look very good, and we could all see a world where Paul Goldschmidt hits 185 for the Yankees this year, I think. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to have that, okay, he's got to retire year this season. I don't think it's going to happen, but game 1 did not encourage me. They obviously have a massive hole at third base. I don't know which one of these guys are going to step up and do it. Cabrera is a total utility. Didn't give me any encouragement yesterday. Devin Williams, is he broken? Did Pete Alonso break him? That's the big one here. The big one is Devin Williams.
Come on.
And I'm not, this is obviously an overreaction. And Devin Williams is not the Emmanuel Clase close the door with a few strikeouts guy. But is he broken? Is this Clay Holmes again? I don't know.
No, it's not. We're overreacting to one game. This should be the overreaction portion of this.
This is a total overreaction.
This is the overreaction portion of the episode. Goldschmidt, listen, I tend to agree with you. It wouldn't shock me. I will say I listened to Judge pregame yesterday, and he was just talking up Goldschmidt and how he thinks Goldschmidt's going to have a really big year for them and step up and fill a void. So I wouldn't worry about Goldschmidt too much yet. I'll say this. How about seeing some defense at second base with Jazz there? That's great. Nice to see, because then I'm on Twitter late last night and I see these Tiger fans complaining about Glaber's defense at second, saying he plays with a weight around his ankles, and the Yankee fan seeing a good defensive second baseman there for the first time in a while. So that must have been good to see.
And also Goldschmidt defensively was, I mean, he didn't have anything special to do yesterday. They had the one bad transfer play with Rodon going to first, the flip. But I just want to sidebar for a second. My guy Ian Banky in the Instagram comments here, overreaction for him. Orioles are winning the World Series. Great performance against the mighty Blue Jays. Ian, I don't know if you saw any of our predictions episode or our clip, but I picked the Orioles to finish in dead last, mostly due to their ownership completely wiping the courage and hope from all of Baltimore's clubhouse. after just a terrible offseason of only Tyler O'Neill, 6 straight opening day home run, and Charlie Morton, who we'll see tonight. Based on the way my prediction is trending, he will go 7 innings, have the best opening weekend start. But, Ian, I would like to just say you're welcome for the Orioles' success in advance after I picked them last, and I hope you're doing well.
I mean, technically, if we were going to overreact to what we saw, the Orioles are the favorite to win the World Series right now.
Orioles were awesome yesterday.
So there we go. That's nice for Ian that his team is the favorite to win the World Series. Adley Rutschman, what a day. I can't believe O'Neill. I actually cannot believe Tyler O'Neill. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
6 straight. Oh, and what is it? What does he have the record now? He just breaks the record like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Because I think the previous most is 3 straight opening days. But either way, I mean, Tyler O'Neill, obviously a guy, they moved the wall back in, obviously a guy who can have a big season in that lineup. And it's just, I tried to get, I could still be right, first of all. One game in the books. I don't think they're coming in last after watching the game yesterday. That was maybe ridiculous.
Well, I think it's more of an indictment on Toronto than it is on Baltimore.
Yeah, no, that's
the problem.
What
would flip it.
That's the biggest problem for the last place prediction is I could still see Baltimore winning around 80 games, which is what I was saying, like the best last place team in the league. I said they'd win 76 or 77 on the prediction show, but now I'm going to bump it up 4 or 5 after yesterday. But the problem is they're definitely not worse than Toronto. That's the issue now.
That was my worry. Like I respected the take.
I picked Toronto over Tampa Bay, dude. I don't know what I was doing.
I couldn't see a world where Toronto figured this out, even though they made improvements. I'm not in love with that roster. I'm not in love with the group of players they had. That's what threw me off. If you said Baltimore was in 4th place, I would have been like, okay, I respect it 100%. Because I almost did the same thing.
And I'm also in the field of thinking that Vlad is going to be one of the 3 or 4 best players in baseball this year.
But he could be one of the 3 or 4 best players in baseball and be in last place.
How about this comment? Happy Rockies opening day, man. Rocktober.
Is it bad that I didn't even realize that Colorado or Tampa Bay did not play yesterday?
I didn't realize it either. Tampa, I just assumed Tampa played because every other team in the East played. And seriously, though, what is up with these interleague games to start the season all over? I mean, Rays, Rockies, Yankees, Brewers, Mets, Astros, and then you have a couple sprinkled in, Orioles, Blue Jays, but like, where are the division games and the American League versus American League, National League versus National League games? Like, I don't understand why they're crossing over.
The one that bothers me the most is Detroit at the Dodgers. I know Detroit has a nice year last year and whatnot, and they have Skubal, who they obviously expected to be the opening day starter, and it's a good pitching matchup. But can't give me Padres Dodgers to start the year, or Phillies Dodgers, Mets Dodgers, something like that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's bad, man. And the Dodgers, once again, you're right. Tigers, very nice year last year. A lot of names to look forward to on that team. I have some stuff to talk about Tigers later in Overreactions, but there is an opportunity for a ring ceremony at one of the most iconic venues in American sports in LA there, with a great ceremony they do for the Dodgers. And they're playing the Tigers.
Can you be Giants, Dodgers here?
Come on. I mean, throw it at
the Yankees go back there this year. You want an interleague game? Right? You can't give me Yankees, Dodgers.
And then same thing with the pitching matchup. You're anticipating Garrett Cole or Max Fried. You're anticipating it. Not that you would totally get it, but that's your expectation in December. Whatever.
Bad job.
Anything else on the Yankees there? I mean, Devin Williams, obviously we finished with that, but sad to see Cole in the arm brace. That threw me for a bad loop. Did you see that?
I didn't see it. A little emotional there.
Yeah, that was messed up, seeing Cole in the arm brace. Let's see if I can get a quick picture. But it was because then it really set in that moment that, we're not going to see him until next summer.
Yeah. Just looked like a nice day at the stadium. That's really all I have to say. The Yankee fans.
I'll be in the house Sunday. I'm pumped. It's great to have baseball back.
I feel like there's one more thing. Dominguez didn't do anything eventful yesterday, so we'll see what
No,
happens.
and he's on my list of didn't give me any more confidence
After
out
one
of the
game.
players yesterday after one game. So it's, I do expect Dominguez to have a nice year. I picked him for my rookie of the year, as we might be another one of the Yankees' fifth-year veteran rookies.
Right.
But I think he'll have a nice year. Do I think he'll be great superstar? No. But I think he'll have a nice year. Didn't look great yesterday. Looked terrible last year in limited action. I remember Banky actually telling me a few years ago he's not a good prospect, or he's like a way worse prospect than we all think. And I could see now that I watch him play, Banky much more in the minor league scene than I am. Now that I watch him play, I actually see some of that. Definitely a below average outfielder.
Yeah. For
Even
sure.
in center field. Overrated center fielder. But let's move Mets here.
I have one more thing to say, and I just forgot it.
Dominguez?
No, who the hell was it? Oh, Ben Rice. We haven't really spoke about Ben Rice.
Oh, yeah, Ben Rice. Good at bat yesterday. Got on base.
He's looked good.
He's looked good.
And admit.
The fact that they were able to just tell Dom Smith, basically, we're not taking you on this team. I know that I talked way too much about Dom Smith this offseason, but the fact that they were able to look at the veteran left-hander and just say, we're good.
Hey,
like
Dom,
Rice.
We're good.
Your boy. Hey, Dom. Ben Rice is here.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good.
That gave me a little bit of a sign of confidence that the Yankees are really saying this guy's at least better than Dom Smith. So
how high is that bar? We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So the Mets lose their first game in Houston 3-1. Offense does nothing until the ninth inning. Kind of felt wrong that they lost after the long offseason of excitement. Like, I don't know if you agree. It just felt like they weren't supposed to lose that game. But your Cy Young pick, Framber, looks terrific. And that's just, tough one for the Mets to start the season.
You can't give away outs, right? You can't make errors. You can't put guys on base, give them free passes. And you can't leave guys in scoring position. They did all of those things yesterday. I mean, you want to win baseball games, do the complete opposite of that. Listen, I'm obviously not going to sit here and yell and kick and scream. There's nothing I'm going to completely overreact to from yesterday, but it stinks because they tease you. That's what they do. They tease you. It's like they can't just lose 3-0. They can't just lose 3-1. It has to be, we're going to load the bases 2 innings in a row, and here we go. And they get nothing. They get 1 run out of it. So tough one. Good thing about baseball, you get to jump right back on the horse the next day and completely eliminate that.
All right, we got to talk about Clay Holmes.
Yeah.
A little bit in depth here. You mentioned him on your selfie video last night, recapping the game. We'll see Mike do a lot of those this year, as you did in the postseason last year. But Clay Holmes literally felt like a reliever that had to make a spot start, and he just couldn't really pound the zone, couldn't get the job done that he needed to do. But it is his first start, and I'm not worried about him looking like a top 5 starter. But your takeaways here with Holmes.
Would you believe me if I told you I was actually encouraged?
I wouldn't. I would say why.
Because, listen, he didn't get hit around. He made mistakes. He was, playing around with the strike zone there, and he put too many guys on. He hit a guy. That can't happen, right? Now, I think the walks maybe early on in this season could be an issue, like they were for a lot of the Met starters in 24, but eventually the weather got warmer and they got more comfortable and the walks started to go away. I think with Holmes, the stuff was there. He wasn't getting tattooed. He did not have great defense behind him yesterday. He gets the ground balls he needs. I think he's going to be just fine. I was somewhat encouraged. The stuff still looks really good. It was his first start in 7 years. I think he's going to be just fine. I was sort of encouraged by it yesterday.
All right. My biggest fear with
Is that
Holmes,
a spin zone? Is that a spin zone?
A little bit of a spin zone, but not a crazy spin zone.
Okay.
My fear with Holmes, ultimately, not only as Mets starter, but with the Yankees, is he walks too many guys. And he's in way too many full counts. He doesn't hit the zone enough. And it's a product of his pitches moving way too much. His pitches are so disgusting in movement. The sinker and the sweeper are so gross that he can't hit the zone with them consistently. And it's kind of a funny thing. A lot of guys would kill to have his movement, but he doesn't know what to do with it half the time. And that's what worries me with Holmes. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy who can give you 5 innings plus and just pound the zone with strikes. And that's a way to get yourself through games where you don't have your best stuff, is just hit the zone and get some outs, hope some, a couple balls put in play, go your way. I don't know if Holmes is going to be able to do that, but I don't want to overreact to Holmes because I think he deserves the opportunity as a starter. Whether it works out or not, he's earned this opportunity. Enough teams felt like he could do this. So I don't want to go crazy after yesterday. I agree with you. If he gave up 8 runs in 2 innings, I'd say, all right, this is going to be a disaster.
And they got tattooed. They're just hitting the ball hard all over the place. Even the outs were loud. It didn't happen. And it's funny to see it over a couple of innings. I mean, he went 4 2/3 yesterday. It's funny that in the big spots, he got a ground ball with the bases loaded. They couldn't turn 2. It was a really slowly hit ground ball, Lindor. They couldn't turn 2. He got another ground ball with runners in first and second. Acuna throws it away. Which, by the way, you want an overreaction. If he didn't have that at bat in the 9th inning, I would already be. He would have already been sent down.
That's my guy too. He was terrible.
I just think like he gets those ground balls, and it's funny that in those tight moments, he's able to do what he does best and gives you the play to get out of the inning. Whether or not you get out of it or not, the defense has to be better.
And then the game obviously ends with a little typical Mets tease.
Yes.
Let's pull you back in the 9th here. Storybook ending. Soto, 2 outs, tying run on base, and he strikes out. And I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter. Everybody's saying, every Yankee fan using it as probably rage bait would be the classification.
Yeah.
He never swung at this last year.
Yeah.
And I just think, he didn't, because he was trying to be the hero yesterday with the Mets in the first game. And I kind of expected it when he was up. I didn't think while he makes magical moments, and he will for the Mets for the next 15 years, I didn't think it was going to be a pretty at-bat, because you could tell looking at him, he wanted to do what he did last year against Hader. And that was win the game with the Yankees on opening day. But I don't know. He just felt like he was pressing. It felt like he was trying to do too much. Obviously, he'll come back around. I could see him having a monster game tonight, bouncing back from that.
Also, like, really, he never swung at a pitch like that with the Yankees. Not once last year did he swing at a bad. Did he swing at? He didn't swing at a bad pitch. That was a nasty freaking slider.
He definitely
was a nasty slider,
but not in a situation that you'd remember it. He was just so locked on in those situations with the Yankees, which obviously he will be with the Mets. He was looking to swing yesterday. He was looking to hit. And I'm going to bring up a little overreaction, not about Soto, but is it possible? First of all, have not been a huge fan of Pete Alonso the last 2 seasons. I like him, like that they re-signed him, had to re-sign him. Don't think he is a terrific hitter. I think he's probably the most overrated hitter in baseball. Only because he's one of the easier strikeouts in the league, and I can't really throw the he doesn't get big hits thing out there anymore because he has the last few years.
Yeah.
But I don't think the protection of Aaron Judge gets talked about enough. I know we do here, and I know you acknowledge it. I don't think the amount of protection Judge gave Soto gets talked about enough, because you have a lot more confidence passing it off to Judge than to Alonso or Vientos. Only because Vientos hasn't proven it long enough yet. And obviously, Judge is just the best hitter in baseball.
Well, one of those guys is going to have to step up. Like, one of those guys, and I think both of them are going to have nice seasons. I think Alonso is going to have a big contract year. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he can't think like that. And he said it after the game. Pete's one of the better power hitters in the league, which is a true statement.
Yep.
And pitchers will fear pitching to him, especially in that spot. I did want Pete to get up in that spot. I wanted to see Pete with the bases loaded, 2 outs against Hader. I wanted to see that situation happen. and it obviously doesn't. But I also think I think protection works both ways. I think having Lindor at the top there not only benefits Lindor, but I think it benefits Soto. There's going to be days where Lindor is on, weeks where Lindor is just on a tear. And maybe Soto has a week-long slump. They're not going to want to see Lindor. There might be opportunities for that. So I don't worry about it too much. I think he's just that good of a hitter. And take his walks. I don't care. He walked twice yesterday. Got on base 3 out of 5 times. Take your freaking walks.
Yeah, I mean, just a nice introduction to what he does, right? He just gets on base, and he's going to do that. I just hope, I said that Vientos should be the 3-hitter. It was something that I talked about throughout the season, only because I think he's a better hitter than Alonso. I love Mark Vientos, and I think he's in for a monster year. Yesterday in the 8th, if we're talking about stuff that kind of didn't break through, Nimmo not breaking through there definitely hurt. They needed a run there at least. And he had good contact, but right to center.
First pitch swing, and you like that? Abreu walked the last 3 guys. Long at-bat to Vientos, which was a great at-bat, by the way, by Mark, after grounding out 3 times to the left side. I thought that was I liked swinging on that first pitch because I think you're getting a pitch to hit. He got a slider. He didn't get a fastball, but I did like the thinking there, honestly.
Yeah, I guess you got to go to get over pitch, right? And he barreled it up. He did. He almost squared that up to the point where he could have got that.
Yeah. But
he just missed it. It was still good contact. When it came off the bat, I thought it had a chance of getting down. It was one of those line outs.
I did not.
I thought I was like, if they got a little shift on, I was like, it could possibly drop here. And then the second the camera pans, it's getting caught. But tough one for the Mets. We can overanalyze opening day. They win tonight, and it's all fine. The pitching matchup tonight. I mean, dude, you look at this weekend's pitching matchups for the Mets. It's like hell.
Is it bad that I actually don't know who's pitching tonight? That is really
McGill's
bad. I don't know. It's McGill tonight because I know they have Peterson and Senga in Miami. I knew that. Okay, so it's McGill tonight.
Because look at the 3 matchups in this series. Valdez, Clay Holmes. Valdez-Clay Holmes is probably the most lopsided pitching matchup of the entire season.
That's aggressive. That's aggressive.
No, seriously, dude. I mean,
aggressive.
That's one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball versus the worst closer in the league last year, making his first start in 8 years, 9 years. So Holmes versus Valdez, disaster. Write it off. It's fine. But now you turn around and it's McGill versus Brown.
I can't wait to see McGill
and then
tonight.
Canning versus whoever's pitching tomorrow.
Arrighetti.
Yeah, just as lopsided, actually, if Canning's the guy.
Come on, Canning looked good in spring, man. I liked what I saw from Canning. He knows the division well. He knows the division well, Canning. He's with Angels. He's gonna be good.
You know what the problem is? The division knows him well.
And of course, they're on Fox. They're on Fox on Saturday. So Gary,
Keith, one game on SNY in like their first 5-6 games.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Soto effect.
Good job. Thanks.
Welcome to the Soto. If this is what happens, you give a guy $800 million, turn your stadium into an amusement park.
By the way, can we talk about that for a second? The amount, what, you're not allowed to have fun at a baseball game? You got to sit there in your freaking museum and just watch baseball and chant the players' names to say hello to them and eat chicken buckets? That's all you're allowed to do in a baseball game? Seriously, we can't have fun? I don't get the hate. I just don't get it.
What's funny about it is, and I love Citi Field. What's funny about it is you have in this city, because of the Soto thing and Cohen and Steinbrenner, such a rivalry now that I don't think actually existed before. Like the fans hated both teams, sure, but now it's real. And you have potentially the most boring just baseball stadium in the league with the biggest ego fan base in the league versus the team that's doing the most to make their baseball game more than a game and make it a real experience. And I don't think either side is wrong. I love what both sides do. I don't want to go to a Yankee game and have a bunch of different stuff going on. I don't need any exotic food, but like Citi Field's got great food. Citi Field's a great place to go enjoy a game. I love going there for Mets games, even if they're not playing the Yankees. So I like both ways. I just love baseball, but it's funny because it doesn't matter at all.
3 years in a row, Citi Fields has the best food, best stadium food.
And they do. Like, if you go, they do.
It is. And Yankee Stadium's a close second. It's New York. I mean, we're New York pride. We eat better in New York than any place else. I don't give a rat's ass. And just like, all right, they're going to do a mascot race. Okay, who cares? It's for 30 seconds in the middle of the 5th inning.
No one's going to see it. You're in the bathroom.
I'm in the bathroom. I'm checking Twitter. I'm on the phone. Like, I don't pay attention to half the crap that goes on, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not on my phone. Some kid's running to beat a record to third base. I don't care. I don't care. It's fun.
It is. And it's just funny that the Mets are getting ripped for it, man.
It's hysterical. You want an overreaction? I was ready to cut Marte after a couple at bats yesterday, but then he had a single in the ninth.
Yeah. Almost got something going there in the ninth because of him.
I don't think it's gonna. I think you're gonna get to a point with Marte towards the middle of this season where he might become unplayable. Even if he might be healthy, but I think Marte might get to a point where he's unplayable.
If Marte got DFA'd this year,
it would not.
I would not be surprised.
No,
not at all.
And by the way,
another guy I like a lot in his career, but I mean.
And by the way, the Mets were very upset. They had to cut somebody. I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. They got him from the Cubs for cash. He was traded, I'm pretty sure, for Bryant. Alexander Caminero, something like that. Big, tall, and he was having a decent spring for the Mets. And they didn't. He's a young kid. He's a top prospect, and they did not want to cut him. And I think they would much rather that kid on the cheap contract than Marte right now.
Yep.
Look, I got it right. Thanks, Brendan.
You got it right. Here's an interesting, always eventful WIP caller. Mets should swap Taijuan Walker and Marte. I think the Mets, I don't know what the contract on Walker is because I know they paid him. But
if it was 1 year of Walker, I would consider it.
Yeah. And obviously some familiarity in the organization there with Walker, so you'd want him for the innings.
1 year of Walker just to eat innings and be depth, fine. And I'm able to keep Caminero, fine. But if it's more than a year of Taijuan Walker, who was terrible. I mean, terrible, by the way.
Yep. You're doing it you're hoping for a couple 4-inning outings to just hold things down, give you 2-3 runs over 4 innings, labored through. He has 2 years left on his deal.
You know what? That's also a trick question. Because that person from Philadelphia knows what Marte does to the Phillies. Marte owns the Phillies. So I actually wouldn't do that just because I'd want Marte in the lineup, even though he sucks against everybody else. I'll play him against the Phils so he crushes the Phils. So I won't do that deal anymore.
Walker's got 2 years left at $18 million a year, so you're not doing
I'd rather jump off.
You're not taking the worst pitcher making over $10 million a year in the league.
No.
For that. Because you could just find a guy anywhere else.
Griffin
Canning, obviously. Griffin Canning is terrific. We're gonna learn that. We're gonna learn that tomorrow. What he does to the AL West.
I can't wait. I cannot.
Instead of K through 9, it was like home runs through 9 for Canning. I saw a stat last year. I forget. It was some advanced metric right when the Mets signed him, and it was like Canning allows the most home runs through 9 innings in Major League Baseball the last 2 years. And before him, it was Andrew Heaney, who just nightmare fuel.
But he figured it out at some point, Heaney,
and won the World Series.
Yep. So there we go.
All right, you want to do overreactions?
Yeah, let's overreact a little bit if we haven't already.
Yeah, no. This is what I was looking forward to most today. We're gonna give 3 overreactions each. Mike, I will let you start with your first one, but these are all around the league. These are not Yankees Mets overreactions.
Well, this one actually is a Yankees Mets one. But I teased it before. You kind of said it. I think you're going to get – I don't think you're going to get 21, 22 Carlos Rodon, but I think you get something close to it. I do think he steps up. He's consistent through a full season, and he is your number 2 starter that I think you feel good going into game 2 of a playoff series. You're like, all right, we got Rodon on the mound. It's not like last season where listen, I was sketched out when I saw him on the mound in game 2. I was. I wouldn't feel that way this year. I think he's going to have one of those seasons that really turns it around for his Yankee career.
All right, my first overreaction is a bold one, but going back to the World Series champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think have a real shot here at getting 116 plus wins. Already 3-0. We picked them as an easy over last week on the prediction show, 104.5. If you haven't seen the prediction show, you can check it out. We dropped it on Monday. But over under 104.5 on the Dodgers. We were both over confidently.
Yeah.
And I could really see this team going 116 games plus in the win column. Obviously very hard to do, but they have a real chance at finishing with the number one lineup in runs scored, the number one starting pitching staff in ERA, and the number one bullpen in ERA.
How is it that Tommy Edman is that good?
I don't know.
What is going on?
They're cheating, or the development is as great as we think.
And if the development's that great, Conforto's going to have a great year, and my Cy Young pick, Blake Snell, is going to be a home run. Yep. My second overreaction, after watching the Astros yesterday, I think we underestimated how good that lineup's going to be. They brought up Cam Smith. I think we both picked Texas to win the division, but after watching one game and seeing how that lineup is 6, 7, maybe even 8 guys deep at times, I think the Astros are better than most people predicted. I don't think the fall off is going to be that big.
Yeah, and we both picked them to be in the playoffs, so we definitely were both in on the Astros. I think I would have said, I don't know if I actually specifically said on the prediction, so I could be wrong, but I think 2-3 wins behind Texas this year when I picked them to win that division. Very comfortable with the Astros making the playoffs. My second is also from the Dodgers-Tigers game last night. I think Spencer Torkelson might have the big breakout this year, and they've been waiting for it. Former first overall pick, and last night hit a home run, walked 4 times. Somebody in that lineup has to step up. They're now in a spot where they are trying to contend, whether you want to write off all the teams in the AL Central or not. In that clubhouse with AJ Hinch, they are saying we can win the World Series. And maybe Torkelson just needed some stability in the organization and finally a team that is getting on a winning path for him to do that. I loved what I saw last night. And he was a number 1 overall pick, man. Obviously, the talent's there. I know how that goes in baseball versus other sports, but I think Torkelson could be the big breakout player of the year in the American League. That
was almost mine. He had a good spring. I love it. I'm happy I didn't pick it, though.
Good. What's your third here?
My third one's a big one.
All right.
Real big one. The Washington Nationals will win another World Series in the next 5 years because of Juan Soto. The Juan Soto trade, listen, you never want, and I've had this argument multiple times with friends, you never want to trade your best player, right? Especially a generational talent like Juan Soto. But I think what the Nationals got back will actually be the fuel to the fire that gets them back. Mike Rizzo is an unbelievable executive. Listen, James Wood could be an MVP level player at some point. CJ Abrams, a very talented player. We saw what Mackenzie Gore did last night, 13 strikeouts. He has the potential to be a number 1 or 2 starter. And then there's 2 other guys that are top prospects that haven't even come up yet. Listen, with the development that they've shown the past few years, the Nationals will win another World Series because of the guy that got them there first.
I like that. There you go, man. Nats. Now it's going to be tough in the division, in the National League for any team.
5 years. 5 years.
For any of these teams. Yeah, and obviously the landscape changes over 5 years, but it's going to be tough for any team in the National League to win. But we did speak at length about the Nationals this offseason a few different times. We both picked them in the predictions, not to make the playoffs, but to be very competitive, to go over their number. I think it was 71.5 on the Nationals. But I like that. I think that they're building something really good there. They did a nice job supplementing veterans, and they always do a great job. They're a really well-run organization, the Nationals, and they have been in this nice or tough slump for their fans since winning that World Series. But they have the insurance because they have the ring to be able to say, we need an extra year or 2 here to really build this thing out right. They traded Scherzer, Turner. They lost Rendon. They obviously had to trade Soto. They lost Bryce Harper the year before winning the World Series. So they lost a core of a couple Hall of Famers. Soto was a Hall of Famer. Scherzer, Strasburg, I mean, didn't work out. Obviously, just never was healthy.
Right.
Patrick Corbin sucks after that contract. So they've done a nice job here bouncing back after losing a ton of guys and a couple of their pitchers not working out. My third prediction is after a wasted Paul Skeens opening day start yesterday, I think we could be in for a Jacob deGrom situation with the Mets where Skeens could potentially win the Cy Young here with less than 10 wins, and they just waste his season completely.
Don't hate it. Wins do not matter. And if he's the most dominant pitcher in the National League, like DeGrom was that one season, he obviously deserves it, and it would not shock me. That they did nothing to add to that team offensively. It's a joke. So
it is. It's terrible.
I don't hate
and I'm listening to him talk the other day, and he's saying, this is just an awesome place to be. There's a reason why Kutch keeps coming back, and these guys want to play here. Brian Reynolds extended here. The players want to be here, and
he's got to get out of there.
Oh, and he's got to be in the Bronx, but the ownership is just so, and it's not like they're in a terrible market in Pittsburgh. You should be spending some money in Pittsburgh. You should be, especially with these young pitchers, trying to set yourself up. Pittsburgh's one of the teams that, I don't know if I had this conversation on here with you. I don't think I did, but they were in my group of teams. I was having a bunch of these conversations with my friends during the Soto sweepstakes where I'm saying, there's 7 or 8 teams here with a nice, bright future. Guardians were one of them. They're always in the mix. Royals were one of them. Pittsburgh was one of them, where I look at them and I say, they never spend any money. Why not just go break the freaking bank on one player every 8-9 years, right? Soto was a Met or a Yankee. It's not like they could have jumped in, but why are we not stepping in for Kyle Tucker? Why are we not stepping in for one of these massive bats, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, even Corey Seager? Why leave them all to the teams that spend? You do it once every few years. You're going to make a return on that contract. They're going to profit from it, and you're going to have a much better chance at winning the World Series.
I think you have a better chance of a Kyle Tucker situation where you trade for him and then you sign him, whether it's in free agency or you extend him before he gets there. I think that's your best option, but it's tough to try and, even if that's your model, it's tough to try and convince a star player that wants to win, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try it out and spend on big guys every few years. These players want commitment from ownership, and I just don't think a lot of these small market teams have the ability to do so.
No, and the way the Guardians operate bothers me so much because they lowball all these stars with contract extensions, and they're not the only team that does this, but Jose Ramirez, every once in a while, you get a guy who takes the deal and just wants to stay. But then you trade a guy like Lindor. I mean, you already have the player there. Pay the guy.
You had two. You had a great one of the best 1-2 combinations in the sport.
And you let a guy like Lindor walk out the door. The Nationals with Soto, which was very different because he wanted to leave, and he did want to play a few years elsewhere before getting the contract. But I don't know. These teams just bothers me a lot that these teams aren't like Baltimore right now, man. I mean, could we
that's
not?
Different. That's a different situation.
Baltimore's totally different, where you just had Burns and Santander. You couldn't even bring one of them back. How about you jump in on some of these big free agent sweepstakes? How about you go try to get Kyle Tucker? You have so many prospects. Your development is good. You've had so many top picks. Isn't it time to turn the page? And as new ownership, I mean, you know how much they've pissed me off this offseason, this new ownership?
And they're a rival.
I know, they're a rival. And I'm looking at their fans, same as Pittsburgh, but I have less of an interaction with their fans than I do Baltimore. And I'm saying, this is a great fan base. This is a great baseball town. Get involved. You guys are worth billions. Your ownership group is worth tens of billions of dollars. Get involved and get aggressive here. Tyler O'Neill and Charlie Morton is the solution to the best core you've had in 40 years. Embarrassing stuff, Mike. It's so infuriating. I mean, you gotta sit up at night and pray for a guy like Ian Banky. He loves Orioles baseball, and he's a great guy. And it just, a better guy could not be getting screwed worse by his baseball team, because the Wilpons stunk. They were a top half ownership in the league,
which is crazy to think about right now. At times they did spend. Not enough, though. Not enough to the
No.
point where it should have been more. It should have been a lot more.
And they were in a market where,
It
I
was
know that
expected.
while you're playing second fiddle in a market, you're still one of the 5 or 6 most, highest grossing teams every year.
It's expected you're supposed to be the top 3, the top 4 spending teams.
And, in the case of the Orioles, too, when you get that ownership change finally, it's supposed to go for fans the way the Mets has gone or the way the Commanders just went. It's not supposed to go like we are taking a step back or to the side in the way we operate, and you end up like the Carolina Panthers where your new owner just stinks. That's not how it really is supposed to work. For a fan, the dream for a fan with a crappy owner is somebody comes and saves us and buys this team.
I think it's different with the Mets, though, because of how much money Cohen had.
It is, but that's the
Cohen was following a model. And I mean, he didn't give out, besides Lindor, he didn't give out a long-term contract.
No.
Because the plan was we're going to spend high on a year-to-year basis until we start to develop some talent and in the farm system, young talent, and then bring those guys up and then spend around those guys. And they started to do that.
What's so impressive to me with Steve Cohen in hindsight here is the process. It was not, I can put a Band-Aid team together that wins 95 games in my first offseason. He never did that. Mm-mm. And they tried it a little bit with Buck Showalter and the pitching staff there and getting Scherzer and Verlander and trying to go with these veteran arms to give you a year or two. But they were also smart contracts. If you're willing to pay them, you aren't on the hook for very long. Only a year, 2 years. There's opt-outs everywhere. So
that was the way to do it.
When you sit here in hindsight, and now they do have one of those groups that whether they win, and I'm not trying to knock them here, whether they win 65 games or 115 games this year, they're a legit contender for the next decade. And that's now where they are because of the process they took.
No, they were smart. It was the Dodger model, and they did not hamstring themselves to like the Correa contract would have been against that model.
Yeah,
the Nimmo contract is kind of a little bit against that model, but at least it's not killer AAV wise.
And he has, I think, waited. Lindor was there, and he had to make a splash early, I think, for the fan base.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're getting a great player at a premium position. Why would you not do it? And then he kind of waited out for long-term deals that weren't homegrown guys. He waited out his front offices and his manager to see when do I actually have a group here that I am confident in they're going to oversee this thing for the whole long-term contract. And he had it last year. I don't know if they sign Soto, if they don't end up going on that great summer run last year and win 74 games, 75 games. I think not only does Soto have less of an interest in going there when he doesn't see them make the playoffs, but Cohen has less confidence in the guys he brought in and whether or not Soto's actually a missing piece.
I don't think, no, I agree with you. They do not sign Soto without that run. They don't. I mean, at least getting to the postseason, they don't.
Yeah, that was the minimum you had to do in order.
And we had talked about that.
Yeah,
we talked about that throughout the season. Like, this is going to hurt their chances when they were so bad, 11 games under 500, whatever it was. We're like, this is going to hurt their chances in the Soto sweepstakes.
Yep. Anything else opening day wise here? Just awesome stuff. Baseball rules. Excited
to be back. Can't wait. Hopefully, both teams come into this weekend and, the Yankees continue to roll and the Mets figure it out here and win the series. And no Sunday game is brutal, by the way. No Sunday game.
No Sunday game is terrible. Because I'll be thinking of you 1 o'clock in the stadium with my chicken bucket.
Right.
I'll be thinking of you.
The only enjoyment you'll be able to have.
You're not watching baseball today. You're watching Russell Wilson 2014 highlights. And I'm watching baseball. My team is undefeated, on track to be the best team in baseball history.
Right.
You have nothing today.
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I hope you enjoy the chicken bucket. It sounds delicious right now. I'm starving. Yeah. And that sounds delicious.
Chicken bucket's awesome. All right.
You gonna get the tiramisu? You gonna get the tiramisu?
No, it's the same thing as your stupid cookie bucket.
I can't believe you're a hater. You're getting killed for that take, by the way.
No, I'm not.
You're getting killed.
75% of the comments on that post are
Well,
good take.
75% of the people were morons. I'm sorry, they're friends, but I mean, cookies at a game. I mean, come on, that's great.
Dude, never, ever. 20? A bucket of 20 chocolate chip cookies at a game?
You're getting it with 4 or 5 other people. It's 4 cookies a piece.
And it's $15, not the worst in this economy.
That's
$15?
$15?
Yeah, but
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, it probably should be closer to like 10.
No, what? At a ball game?
75 cents a cookie?
At a ball game? Yeah, I'll take that.
Either way, cookie, tiramisu, I don't want either at a baseball game. I want a chicken bucket and maybe pregame hot dog burger tailgate. I don't want to go in there and get desserts.
Okay, well that's you. I like my ice cream in my helmet.
You know where I get
sprinkles?
You know where I get desserts? At an amusement park.
Oh, so now you're comparing Citi Field to an amusement park.
I'm not comparing it. They're making it one.
Okay, interesting take there.
You got a nice purple seat in the outfield, though. Make you smile when they're 61-90.
I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm not going to respond to it.
All right, wrapped up. We'll be back next week, maybe Monday. We're thinking big weekend ahead, so we can have a little bit of a feeling of how the season will go, even though it's still only a couple games. But when we come back, we'll have more of substance in our takes rather than the overreaction episode that we are discussing here. What else? Find it on Spotify and find it on Apple Podcasts if you miss anything. And then we also have the hard line. We have draft stuff coming when we have 4.5 weeks till the NFL, less than 4 weeks to the NFL draft. So stay tuned on our content. And then is Hardline doing anything?
Yeah, we got to get me and Jan will be back, I think, next week at some point.
Okay.
Releasing a couple videos.
So if you need your NFL fix, go there. Playbook on Instagram at the PlayBK. Gabe has New York sports for you. All shorts all day. He's got great stuff. Knicks, Yankees, Mets, Giants. Find everything you need. We'll be back next week with more of the Burrows, episode 40 next week. And it's just a big season ahead. We're pumped. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. We'll see you then.